guys, this is Charlie. This video is going to be showing the bass tones, rhythm guitar tones, as well as leads and cleans that I used on my album Minimum Safe Distance. This isn't really an instructional video on how you should approach guitar tone. This is more to show the tones that I picked for this project and why I picked them. And this is not going to cover mixing or editing or anything like that. This is just about the guitar tone with the Kemper. So yeah, let's get into it. The first thing I will show is the bass DI. So that was recorded with an Ibanez SR305. The tuning is drop G sharp on a 5-string, and new strings, obviously, as you can hopefully hear. So what I did is I used that as the bass tone for the low end, and I then sent that signal through my Kemper. To get the high end of the bass, what I used was a profile by ToneCrate they did with Corey Bronneman. It is a dark glass vintage, and I went through a bunch of different sounds. I was going for like different B7K profiles, Sans amp. You can't see it here, but I did also try 11 rack, which until this profile came out, I was kind of happy with the 11 rack one, but something wasn't quite working. So yeah, here's the profile. Okay, so that is the main bass tone. Of course, I filtered out a load at the bottom because there is a lot of low end in there. The third bass track that I used was one where I used Toneforge Menace. So this isn't usually used on bass, I guess, but I really like it, kind of as a substitute for a fuzz pedal. So I use it on like breakdowns or heavy bits where it just needed a slightly different tone. As with the Dark Glass track, I did filter it with EQ, so ignore all of the low end in this, but I will show the settings as I play it. So you can probably hear there's quite a bit of EQing that needs doing in that one, which is in the main session. I'm not going to be showing that today because this isn't a mixing tutorial. I'm just showing the tones that I used. So if I enable the EQs, you will hear what the sort of core bass tone of the album is. Again, bear in mind the levels are not set, so this one might be a bit loud, for example, but I'll just show that now. Yeah, so that was the main bass tone. There's a couple of bits where I adjusted it slightly because there's a couple of bits with slap and a couple of bits with fingers. So those are very slightly different tones, but that's 90% of it. So the next one I'll show is the core DI sound. So as you can see here, I did do a bit of processing on the DI track, which I then sent back into the Kemper and reamped it with various profiles. So I'll just show the DIs now with this processing on. So all this is doing is just adding a little bit of grit, pumping up the level and clipping slightly, and very slight tone shaping. I didn't do this while just listening to the DI, I did it while referencing the Kemper, so it might not make a huge amount of sense looking at it and listening to it now, but hopefully the result sounds good. So for the main rhythm tone for the album, I went through probably about 20 different Kemper profiles. Where I ended up was with this one right here. This one I will also show because it was a very, very close second. You can see some of the hidden tracks or some of the less successful ones. This one, the Randall Satan, I did mix the entire album using Satan tracks, and I still think the amp sounds amazing. The profiles as well sound amazing. It just wasn't quite what I wanted exactly for this album, so that's why I ended up pinning it and going with this one here. So these tracks, the 5150 and the 5150 Hell, they are from the ToneCrate Phil Pascotta pack from Sonic Assault Studios. They are the same as each other, except this one has a abominable electronics hellmouth pedal, which sounds absolutely ridiculous, and when I'm just jamming without recording, I usually go with this profile instead of this one because it just sounds so pissed off. It's kind of funny. But again, the character wasn't exactly what I was looking for, so I did go with the version without the hell pedal. So I'll just show both of these now. So yeah, as you can hear, I think I made the right choice there. I absolutely love these hell profiles, but it didn't quite work for what I wanted. I'll also bring up on the screen now the settings that I ran on this one, the 5150 profile, are not exactly flat. So there is a bit of EQ, and also you'll be able to see the name of the exact profile. The one I went for, because they give you the option of 2 cabs, there's an Engel cab and a Mesa cab. On both of these, you can hear the Mesa cab, sorry. Just because I prefer the sound of it. The only other rhythm guitar track is there are a few parts where I bring in a quad for breakdowns and bits where they're playing something else. I can't remember the exact profile, but it is a 5150. The gain is significantly lower and it's got a bit of a mid-range boost, as you should be able to hear here. So yeah, that track is pretty low in the mix. It's just meant to beef out a couple of sections. Okay, the next bit I will show now is the leads. I have the exact profiles here. So as you can see here, the main lead on the album for most of it is this profile here, which is from the ToneCrate Rivers of Nile pack. It is the Satan amp, the Randall Satan, and this is probably now my favorite lead guitar tone that I have ever used. I absolutely love it to bits, which is why it is the main lead tone on the album. So on both of these are both from the Rivers of Nile pack, 5150 and the Satan. On both of them, they have effects not baked in, but preset on the Kemper. So there's delay, and I think a couple of them have chorus effects. I disabled those because I wanted to do those myself in Pro Tools. So there are no effects on this, but these are the tones. So the reason why I didn't just use the Satan for the whole thing is because I did want a bit of contrast, and there's also some bits where the leads double with some keys, so again I wanted it to sound a little bit different throughout. And I have that option because I have a Kemper. If you don't have one, you should buy one. The next tone is a pretty different one. It's not the kind of tone I usually go for, but there's this particular song where I really wanted something that sounded different to the rest of the leads. So the tone I went for, it's kind of a sort of lower gain vintage Marshall tone. So it's a Marshall Super Lead. CMEQ just refers to Clifton, the founder of ToneCrate. His own EQ settings are baked into this profile. And the CPOD, I can't remember the name of the overdrive pedal that they used, but I'll bring it up on the screen now. So yeah, that's what this is what this profile sounds like. So as you can hear, it's a lot lower gain, and when you hear the song, hopefully you'll agree that it really suits the song. Okay, the next one I'll show quickly. This isn't really a lead tone, but I'll show it anyway. It's kind of a batshit effect track. Yeah, so it just went overboard on effects. It's very low in the mix, but I wanted it to sound kind of funky. So the next one, I have doubles with an Engel profile, high gain, low gain, depending on the exact part. These are hard panned, and they are most of the time playing doubles, octaves, harmonies of whatever the lead tracks are playing. So I'll show those quickly, and then I'll bring in the lead. So as you can hear here, I left the effects on because I was confident that I wanted the wet tones for here, because I wasn't going to want to do any automation, and they sounded amazing. I wanted to include them somehow. These tracks I didn't use, so I will skip over those. Now I'm just going to show the various clean tracks. There are a lot of tracks, but most of them are octaves and that kind of thing. Can't remember the exact profiles, but I do have the names of the amps here. So here's a part where I used a JJ100 profile. All of these have effects either from the Kemper, some reverse delay effects in some of them because I really like that sound, and I also have a TC Electronic Flashback X4 and Dreamscape pedal, which I used as well on certain parts. So here's the first one. Okay, here's the next one. This one's a bit less musical, a bit more sort of ambient, as you will hear when you hear the song. Okay, this one here I really like. The Randall Satan again has a surprisingly good clean channel, apparently. Again, I've got some like reverse delays going on in here, some pretty heavy effects. So here, have a listen. Really like that tone. This one now is just 3 different variations of the same thing with different levels of effects. This was very experimental, and this is what it sounded like. This next one here I do remember specifically because it is one of my favorite clean profiles. It is Reamp Zone's Archon pack. I can't remember the profile number, but it is one of the clean profiles from that pack. I've applied a bunch of effects to it. I really wanted a very specific type of sound here, and this amp just gave me exactly what I wanted. So here, have a listen. So yeah, it's a very spacey pad, as you can hear. I wanted it to sound almost like a keyboard. There's some parts where it blends in with the keyboard tracks. And if I mute that track now when I play the song, the song does not sound right. So this part here really makes the song, I think. And yeah, that is it for clean tones. There's a couple that I haven't shown because I ended up scrapping the songs, so I won't be showing those. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this video for now. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to do a video on Get Good Drums, just showing exactly which samples I picked, what I did to the levels and everything, and the mapping and the velocity curves inside Contact. So if anyone is interested in how I used Get Good Drums Modern and Massive Pack as a composition tool, then you'll be able to see that in a couple of weeks when I upload that video. So to make sure you get that video, just subscribe to my channel, and the album will be released in early November, almost certainly, so I'll drop a link to that below when it is released. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.